August 4th, 2022. Everybody please rise. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Changing the batting order. Number one tonight would be the Brunswick Road Development Major Subdivision, Brunswick Acres Plant Development District. Applicant proposes a major subdivision with regard to the Brunswick Acres Plant Development District on 44.1 acre parcel of land located along the north side of Brunswick Road, New York State, Route 2, just west of Heather Ridge Road. Brunswick Road Development LLC is the applicant. Second will be the Atlas Renewable Special Use Permit and Site Plan. Applicant seeks to construct a commercial solar collector facility on property located off Oakwood Avenue and Farrell Road. Atlas Renewables LLC is the applicant. Number three, Whitbeck minor subdivision. Applicant seeks minor subdivision approval to create 4 new lots containing 4.02 acres, 3.20 acres, 6.77 acres, and 31.69 acres on property located at 131 Krieger Lane. Richard Whitbeck and Jacqueline Whitbeck are the applicants. Number 4, Olson Development. Site plan, applicant seeks to construct a 2-story medical building located on property at 112 at Chesley Avenue. Olson Development is the applicant. Number 5, Anina, waiver of subdivision. Applicant seeks to subdivide an approximately 6.6 acre parcel to create 2 new parcels containing 2.96 acres and 3.65 acres on property located at 137 Tamarack Road. Paul Anina is the applicant. Number 6, Delaire, waiver of subdivision. Applicant seeks to subdivide the property at 103 Hickory Court and distribute the acres between the adjacent parcels at 105 Hickory Court and 5 Ledgewood Road. Tim Delaire and Christina Delaire are the applicants. Number 7 would be the Santoro minor subdivision. Applicant seeks minor subdivision approval to subdivide property approximately 5 acres from 98.68 acre parcel to create a new building lot on property located at 182 Bald Mountain Road. Vincent Santoro is the applicant. And finally, at number 8 is discussion, continued discussion on the proposed Brunswick zoning board amendments. So with that being all said, our first order of business is to review the minutes of the past meeting on July 26, 2022. Has everybody had an opportunity to review those? Are there any corrections, additions, or amendments to the minutes?
I just had one. It might be semantic. In page 2, lower section, speaking of the utility poles, instead of calling them utility poles, I would call them light poles because that's what we have the spec on. So the light poles are maximum height of 15 feet.
And that continues to page 3.
Yeah, and also on page 3, if you can make that change.
Okay.
Because that is the maximum of the street or the parking lot poles, is 15 feet, which is, Mr. Bestwick said they were at 15 feet, so.
So it's utility pole changed to light pole.
Yes, on 2 and, I think, line 1 of page 3. And then it would state under, Mr. Bestwick stated the poles would be 15 feet high. Mr. Golda stated that the 15 feet was, you could scratch lower than. It was the maximum height allowed. that was it.
Any other changes? Okay, hearing none, I'll make a motion to approve the minutes as corrected.
Second.
Second, all those in favor? Any opposed? Thank you. Okay, number one on our agenda tonight, as I said, was modification of our legal agenda was posted, is the Brunswick Road Development Major Subdivision.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you for changing the batting order. Much appreciated.
Okay,
So just kind of a quick recap. Last time this was before the board, the, I'm going to call it the quotation plan was discussed where, due to the county health department's requirements, the applicant building to create the site in order to get final health department approval on certain lots. I know that Andy's going to be talking about that a little bit in the draft resolution that's before you tonight. So we did have comments on July 6th. The applicant had responded to those. Got a little bit later today, actually, obviously, delay vacation. And they pretty much took care of everything. There's some minor points that need to be changed, just to make sure that everything's clear about the bench width and the grading, that the fuel tech shall be on site for the inspection during the grading operation, those types of things. And then those items 22, items 3 and 4 are notes that were really in the PDD approval from the town board. They just want to make sure we're on the plan. As we were reviewing that the other day, Andy and I realized they weren't on there. So just to make sure that's covered. So from a plan standpoint, they're in pretty good shape at this point. Unless the board has any particular questions about any aspect of the plan, I think Andy makes sense for you to talk about.
does anybody have any questions at this time? Andy has drafted a proposed resolution for this. He wants to go over several different conditions. You all have received a copy of the draft.
Okay, I know you're just receiving this tonight. It is a proposed resolution, as we discussed previously, for considering conditional final subdivision approval. As Ron just went through, the plan set is predominantly in final form with comments addressed, maybe a few cleanup items, but principally the plan is in final form, meeting the subdivision requirements and certainly consistent with the PDD approval. So what's in front of you is a draft resolution, again, to consider a grant of conditional final subdivision approval. It goes through the standard format. Now, there's fairly extensive recital clauses, and that's done because we want the record complete to show that this has been a project that's been under review for several years. It started at the town board as a plan development district, and it again repeats and recites the procedure in front of the town board, and that the PDD was ultimately approved. I'll turn your attention to the fact that the town board did serve as seeker lead agency. They did undertake a coordinated review with all involved agencies, including this board, and that the town board did adopt a negative declaration, that the town board did approve the PDD. I thought it appropriate to have the PDD approval, which itself had a series of conditions attached to it, repeated and reiterated as subdivision conditions, and then attached to the town board resolution as an appendix. So even though this is quite lengthy, half of it is the existing town board approval for the PDD. So we've gone through and recited the procedure in front of this board, the plan reviews, highlighting the issue regarding site grading, the health department. Even before I get to the health department, it does acknowledge that at one point there was a proposal to remove material from the site rather than balance the site. That was then later amended. That did take a period of time to address. This application has been delayed in part because of the grading issues, but as we went back through the record, we also noted it was delayed in part because of COVID and that the board wasn't meeting. That's how far back this project does go. So it was a period of time when the board wasn't meeting because of the COVID restrictions. It does highlight the issue about the site grading and the health department review for septic on the proposed subdivided lots. That did give rise to the proposal to phase the project that the town, including the town designated review engineer, the building department, the water department, I sat in as well to review procedural options and how to address this situation. Determined that one option was conditional final subdivision approval, which would allow the applicant at its own risk to proceed with site grading prior to getting a plat stamped and signed. That conditions would be imposed that need to be satisfied prior to the plat being stamped and signed, but set it up in a way that the town is protected during that period of time, principally through performance bond and inspection escrow for grading activities. So all of that procedure is laid out in the recital clauses, which take us through 7 pages of the resolution. So if you turn to page 8, and I'll step you through briefly the proposed conditions. Ron and I did meet, we went through this. We thought it appropriate to review them with the board tonight. Give the board time to review them, consider them if you want any different or additional conditions. We'll have time to get those incorporated into the final resolution for your next meeting. If that's certainly within the discretion of the board, but that procedurally would work. I will tell you that this has also been forwarded to the town water department, the MS4 officer. I want to make sure that he has ample time to review this too, because he will be involved in the inspections during the grading period for stormwater compliance. So if we go to page 8 of the proposed resolution, number 1, first of all, this is set up to grant conditional final subdivision plat approval subject to these conditions. 1, that all conditions included in the town board PDD approval, which are set forth in resolution 84 of 2019, a complete copy of which is attached to this, just to make sure the record's complete, are and remain applicable and mandatory conditions of the Brunswick Acres PDD project, and are established as conditions to the final plat approval as supplemented in the balance of the resolution. So we're not changing anything from the earlier conditions. There will be some additional conditions. Number two addresses financial security for the grading work. So during the PDD approval process, one of the conditions was an appropriate performance bond or other financial security for the required public infrastructure. That included the road, the extension of the water line, and the stormwater facilities. I say stormwater facilities because now the town of Brunswick does require the creation, the establishment of a drainage district. And ultimately, the town will be taking over and operating and maintaining the stormwater facilities through the drainage district. So the performance bond for the infrastructure already required by the town board in the PDD approval process includes the road, extension of the public water, and the stormwater facilities. This condition is a performance bond for the site grading work. And as the applicant has said, it's anticipated that this grading work will be done through rough grading to a point where the health department is able to complete its review of those remaining either 11 or 13 lots, which, as I say, will be a condition further on for the final plat approval. So number 2 is financial security in form and amount acceptable to the town to cover the grading. There'll be a grading plan, there'll be an estimate for the grading plan, that'll set the amount of the bond. As with any financial security with the municipality, there will be a bonding security agreement, sets forth the rights and obligations of both parties. Ron and I sat and thought that it would be appropriate for the board to consider that the financial security for the grading work would remain in place until the project site has been, the grading has been completed through rough grading and it is stabilized as determined by the town's MS4 officer, because that will be a stormwater compliance issue. The town needs to make sure that the site is stabilized. Once it's stabilized and that grading is complete, then the town can consider releasing the financial security for the grading work. Understand the way this will work is there will also need to be then an additional security for the public infrastructure I went over earlier posted before the project could continue. Number 3 deals with the inspection escrow for the construction, or strike that, for the grading work. The town wanted to make sure that it was covered both in terms of financial security, a performance bond, so that the grading work is completed and there's money there to call on, if needed, to stabilize the site. This, under condition 3, is to establish an inspection escrow so that the town has security to send out town designated review engineer and the MS4 officer to inspect the grading as it's ongoing for compliance. So that's number 3. Again, there'll be an escrow, let's strike that, there'll be an estimate for the grading work plus a proposed schedule, because both of those factor into how much inspection escrow would be required. Okay? And that's generally taken on a percentage basis of the overall project cost. This is set up to be consistent with the inspection escrow for the public infrastructure for the project. So at all times, it has to at least maintain a balance of 5,000. If it goes below that, it does need to be replenished. And if it's not replenished timely, to do a stop work order until such time as it is, so that the town can ensure they have an appropriate inspection oversight. Number 4, the grading work has to be done in compliance with the approved grading plan and the slope stability analytical report, which was done and reviewed by Ron's office. The site grading work is performed under the supervision of the geotechnical engineer, and periodic reports are required to be filed with the building department and the town MS4 officer. Ron confirms for me that that was part of the geotechnical reports that the project, that there be inspection by a geotechnical engineer during the site grading. So that was simply reflected in this proposed condition. That the site, number 6, the site grading work would be done in compliance with all erosion and sediment control requirements under the project stormwater pollution prevention plan. Now, this site is significantly greater than 5 acres. Under the state stormwater program, there's a minimum, or strike that, a maximum of 5 acres open at any one time without being stabilized. I would anticipate that that's over 5 acres for this project. So we've included in this condition that there needs to obtain, the applicant needs to obtain the appropriate waiver from that standard. And at this point, I put in either from DEC or the town of Brunswick. We'll have to take a look at the MS4 program to see if that waiver is actually issued by the town as an MS4 or by DEC. But there will need to be a waiver because the grading will be over 5 acres without stabilization. Okay, so that's a condition that's been identified here. And that waiver would need to be in place before the grading commenced. DOT is going to require the curb cut for the road location. We know there's a conceptual approval that was obtained during the seeker review. Ron found it appropriate to have the actual application submitted and either work permit or approval from DOT to confirm that the road location is approved and the curb cut for Route 2. Now we get to 8 and 9, and these are county health department approvals. Obviously, the first one is for septic design. And that's given rise to this whole issue, the conundrum about the site grading, that the county health department will need, because again, this is a conditional final approval of all 24 proposed residential lots. Health department approval for all 24 lots is required before the plat is stamped and signed. And again, procedurally, the grading work has to be done down a rough grade so that the county health department can perform their review of the septic plan, witness the perk test. Once the health department signs off, then on all 24 septic designs, or at least the perk test for all 24 residential lots, at that point, this condition would be satisfied. But make it clear that that's the key condition here, which is the health department needs to review and approve the septic designs for all the residential building lots. and county health department will need to approve the extension of the public water supply. 10 and 11 are just, if there are any final comments of the town review engineer and the water department on the plan for the extension of the public water, and the town review engineer and the town's MS4 officer on any erosion and sediment control for the SWIP, just subject to final comments by those town offices.
Maybe I have a question.
Yes.
When you, in 10 and 11 here, where you are referencing the planning board review engineer.
We can make that
The
clear.
town review engineer?
Yeah, we can make that clear and say the town's designated review engineer. That's Ron will be doing.
That's why I wanted to
Thank
figure
you.
out.
Yep. So instead of saying planning board, it will say town designated review engineer. Okay, number 12, this is a PDD. The PDD approval did allow up to a total of 26 residential lots. The current plan is 24 residential lots as the layout. This condition would be no further subdivision or re-subdivision of any residential lot. That would increase the total number to 24. This is really the build out of the site. Now, 13, this is one of your standard requirements for new driveway cuts on what will be a town road. There's generally a 2% negative back pitch for the first 10 feet off the road. There may be some difficulty in achieving that, as I understand, on the west side of the project site. So what we proposed is the condition either the 2% negative back pitch or to comply with the driveway drainage plan acceptable to, I guess this would also be the town designated review engineer, the Brunswick MS4 officer, and the highway department. Highway department will be issuing the driveway permits. This again is designed to address any potential runoff from the road onto a public roadway in the fall, winter, spring when it has a chance to freeze. 14 and 15 both deal with easements that are required for the project. And they're critical ones and should be in place before the project work begins, the site grading work. Easement for public water utility over the lands of Liberace and National Grid in recordable form should be on file with the town. And easements for utilities and drainage over the lands of Benavino, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, in recordable form, filed with the town. In the project file, there is a document that was executed by Liberace. It appears to be in form of an easement, but it's not in recordable form. We just want to make sure that that's buttoned up, as well as the legal right to extend water utility through that National Grid corridor. Now, just to make sure the record was complete, we have again included the resolution of the town board 84 of 2019. That itself adds a number of conditions. These are the standard town conditions on PDD projects and subdivision projects. And as I said, these really will address in the ordinary course, the build out of the project, the public road, water and stormwater infrastructure, required offers of dedication of those, mandatory performance bonds and inspection escrows. There'll be the creation of the water or extension of the water district and creation of the drainage district. Those petitions have been prepared and are on file with the town. Once this board acts, I think the town board at that point should move forward with the procedure to create those districts. And again, the balance of these are the standard PDD conditions. So those are ones that, based on the review of the project record and discussion with Ron earlier this week, we prepared this resolution for your consideration. And again, the conditions are for your review. If you think we've missed something, or if you'd like to see these amended in any way, let us know. We'll get this into final form.
I just have one question on Condition number 5. The prepared geotechnical engineer shall be submitted to the court on a bi-weekly basis. Is that a normal?
Well, I'll defer to Ron on that.
Yeah, I think that'd be
Okay.
okay. Because again, so there's two things happening here. You know, we'll be out there looking at it. We're not geotechnical engineers. So basically, they're there to make sure that, okay, periodically, within the book. So there'd be communication, but I think it was fine. It would be fine.
This is just to make sure that the building department's records are complete on that, particularly because of the.
But the SWIP
substantial grading.
reports are weekly.
Sorry,
The SWIP reports will be weekly.
that's
The
correct.
geotech report will be bi-weekly.
Correct.
I have a question on the first page. In the first paragraph, it consists of 26 single-family homes.
That's what was originally
And then
applied
it's
for.
further conditioned to 24.
The PDD approval did approve up to 26 residential lots, and I didn't make it clear that during the planning board review, it was ultimately the subdivision plan reduced to 24 lots.
Okay.
We could clarify that in recitals, but understand that in fact, if you go to the town board resolution itself, at page number 4, you'll see the town board approval did allow up to 26 residential building lots. But since the current plan and substantial grading work for the current plan is 24 lots, that's really the build out of this site.
So at this point, the planning board should review this.
Should review it again, if you want anything added to this or changed in any way. If that's Rob and I will review that and get the resolution in final form for the board's next meeting.
All right.
And we'll note I have given a draft to the applicant, and they're certainly entitled to review it, and if they want to send any comments along, that's for the boards. We'll take that under advisement, but if we've missed anything, or if there's any issue associated with these conditions, we should deal with it now.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions on the draft or questions for Ron at this point? Okay, if you do see something that you have a question on or you wish to possibly include as a condition, like Andy says, notify him as soon as possible. They'll review it, and hopefully we'll have a full resolution available at our next meeting.
Right, we did get some preliminary comments, I characterize them as that, from Phil Bradley, the water department, who's the MS4 officer, but if he has time, he indicated he was going to be done
Yeah, it's just pretty busy.
if he has a full chance to review this as well prior to the next meeting.
Okay. All right. I think we're all set. We will see you on the 18th.
Absolutely. Good evening.
Okay, next on our agenda, actually going back in order, is the Atlas Renewable Special Use Permit Site Plan. What happened?
Evidently, Luis was in the office today because I found a stack of the spiral bound books in which I handed out and expected him to be here this evening, but he is not.
No.
So I guess we will review the answers to the public comments for next meeting.
Well, I'll keep them on the agenda for a while. There may be a situation with weather or conditions or something,
Possibly.
if he's not here.
Okay.
So we'll just move forward. If he isn't here by the end of the meeting, then we'll address that. The next on the agenda is Woodbury, minor subdivision. How are you tonight, Brian?
Good, how are you?
Please did receive your letter as far as responses to the comments at the public hearing. When did we receive that, today or yesterday?
It was earlier in the week.
Yeah, it
I
was.
think it was
Yeah.
Tuesday morning.
Yeah.
Did you like to just review this quickly with us right now?
However you'd like me to do.
I would like you to do that.
Okay. The following comments were made at the July 7th planning board meeting by residents, starting with Mr. James Dayton, who stated the subdivision was going to create more traffic along Krieger Lane and make the road even more unsafe. To which I respond that Krieger Lane is a dead-end cul-de-sac type road with only 11 existing homes on it. It really has very limited traffic at this point. And I don't foresee 3 additional homes creating a significant increase in that traffic. The next comment was by Doug Hanlon, who asked if the newly subdivided lots could be further subdivided. If so, could it impact his property value? To which I respond, the lots are large enough in size that they could be further subdivided in the future. However, stated by Chairman Oster, this would require recommendation by the planning board as well as another waiver by the town board before even being reviewed for additional lots. Due to the limited amount of road frontage that these existing lots I am proposing have, the likelihood of them being further subdivided is very unlikely. It's not like we have 300 or 400 feet of road frontage. We've only got a couple hundred feet, 200 feet. And with separation distances and things like that, it's very, very unlikely. Not impossible, but unlikely. Kyle Stratton stated Krieger Lane is a narrow road. Kids are regularly play on. They have no sidewalks. It makes it unsafe. My response is the planning board has verified. Mr. Golden has made a field visit. I made a field visit. We checked the width of the road. It appears to be 20 feet wide throughout. Lock Row Road that Krieger Lane comes off of is only 20 feet wide. Carroll's Grove Road is 20 feet wide. Seems to be the typical road width for a Brunswick town road. Resident Jason Jones stated he agreed with Mr. Stratton. Many children in the neighborhood, the road's narrow. Current lots on Krieger Lane, too narrow for the current lots on Krieger Lane without having more lots. Went on to talk about the width. Mr. Golden stated at the last meeting, the subdivision application was reviewed by the fire department to ensure there was no concerns regarding emergency vehicle access. The fire department had no objections to the proposed subdivision. If children are playing in the road, perhaps the residents could ask the highway department to install a children at play sign to remind the drivers to be careful as they're coming and going on the Krieger Lane. Mr. Jones also had concerns about the width of Krieger Lane, which we have already addressed. And the last comments were made by Debbie Dayton, who stated that she lives directly across from the new lots that are being proposed. If passed, she'll be looking at new homes. Mrs. Dayton also agreed with other concerns about there being too much traffic on Krieger Lane. Mrs. Dayton lives here and looks at these fields. Well, she already looks at this house and already looks at this house. I mean, I understand these two houses will both be closer. She has the ability to buy the lot if she wants to. She has the ability to put up some screening if she wants to. I don't see where we can help that. And that's all my responses.
Okay, Okay, does anyone on the board have any questions or have any comments on the responses? I would just add to your analysis of the road that one of the requirements that we had was that the road be measured out, the length of it, which you did. It was 20 feet wide. So I just would like to make that to the record that that was a recommendation item by the board to answer costs and comments about the traffic and so forth and so on. Other than that, I have no other comments. Does anybody know if any of the people at the public hearing wanted additional signs on the road for like children at play or caution signs of any sort? Has anybody got to look down about that?
Just the one comment, and that was one of the resolutions to that comment was possibly we could put signage up.
Okay.
I can certainly pursue that with the highway department.
Okay, other than that, I have no other questions. Does anybody have any? Since we don't have a town engineer tonight, I'll ask the planning board attorney whether he has any questions on whether he feels that all the comments have been satisfactory.
Well, they've certainly been addressed on the record.
Yeah.
And it sounds like it's to the satisfaction of the board. You deem those responses to be adequate and complete. So I'll just note, again, procedurally, the application was complete. The required waiver of the number of lots on the cul-de-sac or dead-end road was approved by the town board. Requisite public hearing was held. Responses to the public comments have now been reviewed. And so procedurally, it's in front of you for action if you choose.
Okay. Does anybody have any strong opinion one way or the other, whether we should proceed or not proceed? I will entertain a motion for a secret determination. Would you like to make that?
I'll make the motion.
For the NADAC, I assume. Do you have a second?
I'll second.
Is there any further discussion on that? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Now on the approval of the minor subdivision, conditional on Rensselaer County Health Department approval.
Well, this was, again, a non-realty subdivision. So the condition would be Rensselaer County Health Department approval for water and septic prior to issuance of any building permit for the lot. And then secondly, just confirming the parking lot.
Highway department driveways.
Okay, would anybody like to make that motion with the conditions?
I'll make the motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Is there any further discussion on that? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? You're all set.
All right, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Okay, next on our agenda is the Holston Development Site Plan. How are you tonight, Greg?
Good, how are you?
I'll just be giving you another brief update. First of all, I'd like to thank the board for starting the secret process last week. Andy gave me a form. I wrote in a couple of items. I have to add the ZBA to the both agencies. And I'm also going to send the letter by 7:46.
Yep, and then I'll send those out and we'll continue the coordination process.
I have one question. There was a comment made at the last meeting in regards to a fill requirements. on the site.
Correct.
Is anything been done on that?
Yes, Wayne had asked for a cut fill analysis,
Yeah,
which I sent.
okay.
Can you CC me on that, please, Greg?
Pardon?
Can you CC me on that, please? Is the site balanced?
No. Can't balance it.
No, I don't think so. There's quite a knob on the top. What are you looking at for differential?
I don't know. I'll have to.
Well, the copy of the intent to establish lead agency has been sent out, I assume.
No, it has not been sent out. We dated as soon as I get the updated EAF and the 11x17 site plan, that will go out. I wanted to make sure that the updated and correct EAF, including the zoning board, was on there before we sent those out. The zoning board will be involved.
Okay,
So those will go right out as soon as I get those.
all right. And we also had discussion, maybe you would like to make a couple comments on whether a joint public hearing would be appropriate. We both talked about that and said that it's not necessary.
Probably not on this project, that both boards will run the reviews concurrently, and each board will hold their public hearing in due course.
Okay.
There is an area variance requirement for the height of the building. Any aesthetic or visual assessment will be done under seeker. That lead agency coordination notice indicates that this board seeks to declare itself lead agency, so we review any potential adverse visual impacts from the height of the building, but the zoning board will address the area variance for the height.
Okay. Anybody have any other questions at this point? Now, I would you like to continue to be placed on our agenda for our next meeting?
Yes, the plan is to submit all revised plans in SWIFT on the 11th
Okay.
for further discussion on the 18th.
Okay. Now, does anybody know whether Wayne will be back by then?
I didn't know he was going now.
My auto reply did say just through tomorrow.
Oh, okay.
I'm anticipating to be back next week.
Perfect, okay.
That's the same as the
Yeah, I just want to make sure that he's, going to be in the loop. All right then. I have no other further questions. If you don't have any questions for us,
I'd just like to update the board on, already updated you on the fact that we'll be submitting plans on the 11th for the 18th meeting. We do have a schedule now for the sewer investigation that I spoke of last week. A couple weeks ago. That's on the 17th. This month, Bill Bradley will be witnessing that investigation. I've submitted preliminary documents for the driveway permit to Rensselaer County. That was sent to them on the 2nd. Looking forward, best case scenario on the 18th, I would like the board to at least consider setting a public hearing for the first meeting in September.
okay?
The last item is regarding the bank parking. We have some discussion about that. I draw the board's attention to the town zoning ordinance, page 57, 160-44.f.
I was reviewing that before the meeting.
That says parking reserved areas.
Yeah.
The board can allow bank parking. Very specific on what has to happen in order for that to be approved by the board as part of the site plan. And I believe we have addressed that on our site plan. So there was a discussion, I think, about a potential variance. A variance won't be required.
No, I agree.
You concur with that?
I concur.
Thank you. All right.
So I have.
Okay, in regards to your request for a public hearing, I believe it's on the 1st, is our first meeting? September?
Yes.
It's gonna stink.
I think it's a realistic goal, we'll just have to see how we go to the next
Would we have enough time to notice that?
We'll have to take a look at it. It's in Brunswick, 10-day notice requirement, and one of the meetings are 14 days apart. And with the publication schedule, it's a little difficult, a little tight, we'll have to take a look at the calendar.
Okay.
So if it's not able to meet the first, it certainly can meet the second meeting. So
When, Charles, when would the plans be submitted to the county?
When would the plans be submitted? As soon as we announce that we're going to have a public hearing, usually that's my key, that the plans are solidified enough to get them down to the economic development group.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Okay. Thank you, Greg.
You're welcome.
Okay, next on our agenda is, Nina, for subdivision. All right. This is the Tamarack Road. We received a letter from the landowner. Dennis Hoteling, giving you permission to handle the paperwork associated with the purchase of the land. Okay, why don't you give us a brief summary of what you're going to be doing here?
Purchasing land from Mr. Hotel. He wanted to add a small lot for himself,
Okay,
and I have to take care of, it's just all woods over there.
does everybody understand what's going on here?
The last meeting, you said it was gonna get merged, and then,
So this is a
the thing
lot
before,
line
are
adjustment, basically.
you gonna merge it into your existing land, or you gonna maintain
No,
it
I
as a
buy it
separate?
as a separate parcel,
So it's gonna be a stand on its own.
yes.
And does that change things a little bit?
if it's a building lot, you can confirm the appropriate driveway or available driveway location.
Yeah.
If the lot is buildable, we have to review those issues, adequate room, separation for water, septic, driveway location, building envelope, just to make sure it's an appropriate building lot.
Okay,
I was gonna build on it, but, I decided to put an addition on my existing home. So I was just gonna buy this as a buffer, just keep it vacant for now. So I don't plan on building on it right now.
in other words, your house is only like about a little over 50 feet from the current property line. And you want to build a house that will eliminate the, would you, is there a reason why then you would want to keep it a separate lot?
Yes, because of my taxes on my home will substantially go up. And if I buy it as a separate parcel, it would be a lot less. Because I would be vacant land. you know.
Okay. The question I have for Chuck, if that happens, how is he gonna, can he put an addition on the property?
He has hired a PE, and the addition is going to go on the front of the home. The front of the home has more than enough setback to allow for an addition on the front of the home, and they didn't expect any more extension to the east.
Okay.
That was the initial plan that Mr. Bernina had. I don't know if that's changed or not. Has it?
Yeah, I'm just waiting on the engineer to come up with the plans for the addition.
Okay, now on the drawing, it says, Andy, that the lot's not for residential development at this time, may not be developed until sewer systems are approved by the permitting authority in the
Rensselaer County Health
Windsor
Department.
County Health Department.
Well, correct, but then that means it's a building lot. as soon as Westwood County Health Department approves water septic, then it could be a building lot. Issues associated with driveway location, grade of driveway, building envelope, grades on the lot, these are all pertinent. Draw your attention to the recent waiver that was undertaken at the corner of Spring Avenue and Sharp Road. Okay? And we don't want to go down that. I would presume the board doesn't want to go down that road, and you're going to want to know if this is, even if not presently anticipated to be constructed. That map note merely indicates once the health department approves it, it would be a building lot. And there are other issues for the board to look at with respect to a building lot.
If he purchases this lot, keeps it separate, and it is treated as a building lot, and it's no longer vacant land, as an assessment.
No, it would still be vacant land, but
But he wouldn't have to come back to us.
bingo, they could just go to the building department with a building permit application for a house.
Okay. All right.
If it's not merged into the existing lot, it becomes a separate lot, and presuming it meets the size requirements, could be built.
So, the applicant has to go back to the land surveyor, get a driveway cut on this drawing, a potential driveway, and a potential location for a house and a septic system. Is that correct?
Again, this is a waiver application. The information you're required, that's subject to your discretion. We're in that section of the subdivision regulations that merely says you can entertain it as a waiver based upon information that you deem necessary to approve the application. So if those are items that you want to see, you can certainly require that as part of your waiver review. All those are certainly requirements for minor subdivision,
Right.
but they're within your discretion on a waiver.
Well, this is a 3-acre lot.
That's agreed.
I think along that section, site distances are not necessarily an issue. I don't have any problem with waiving those conditions on this drawing and proceeding ahead with an approval of the waiver.
He's gonna need a driveway location and site distances because of the rise when you come from Route 2. And then all of a sudden you're in front of that lot. You put the driveway next to your driveway, I think you'd have a issue.
So
You have
where-
to locate the driveway depending on the speed of the road and the.
Okay, based on your knowledge of that section of the road, you are requiring that they put a driveway.
Right, and site distances.
Okay.
Coming from the other direction, there's plenty of site, but coming from
Well, that's what I was trying to
278 is
figure
a
out,
problem.
yeah, where this was all gonna go.
If there was a driveway to be put in, right at this corner, right in the middle of the line, right next to that corner, the grade is low right there, you can drive right in.
Okay. Well, I think the issue now is we have to see it on the drawing. So, you have to get with Mr. McGrath, and it would be a simple process for him to amend this drawing, to put a proposed driveway in here, and have the site distances indicated on this drawing.
So the way, as far as buying this off of him, it has to be considered a building lot.
Well, it could be considered vacant land, but we have to,
If you're asking the board to approve this subdivision so that it remains a separate lot with frontage on Tamarack Road, it will, for tax purposes, real property tax purposes, could be viewed as vacant, but it will be construed for building department purposes as a building lot. You could simply not come back to this board, go to the building department and apply for a building permit to construct a home. That's, if you keep it as a separate lot with frontage on Tamarack Road.
Right.
If it were to be merged into your existing lot, these are not pertinent issues because it's an existing lot. So if you desire to keep it as a separate lot, then these issues become relevant. And I think you also indicated earlier that it was wooded currently?
Yeah, it's all.
It's all wooded, sure. So, again, not to rehash the most recent example, but there was a substantial amount of tree cutting on that particular lot. And here, you've got a map in front of you, presumably without topo, without, at least right now, driveway location with site distances. But that's why issues pertinent to what's the building envelope, what area would be cleared to build a home, all those become relevant based on recent experience. Somewhat ironically, it was Mr. McGrath who did the survey work on that particular project, so he should be well aware of what the planning board's concerns are.
Right, but that would be if I wanted to build a home, then I would have to do that.
Mike? I could say it again. I don't care at this point, I don't think the planning board cares when a house could be built. What you're currently asking for is subdivide and keep a separate block with frontage on 2. By definition, it's a building lot.
Okay.
You could build at any time, tomorrow or in 10 years. It's the only time this planning board will review it. And in order to do their job in reviewing the subdivision, all these pieces of information are relevant to determine whether it's an appropriately approved subdivision.
I would suggest, to get the site distance done. It's not going to be an issue. There's a bus garage right across the street that has to pull buses out into there. And if there's enough line of sight for a bus, there's enough line of sight probably for your driveway. Because where you are proposing where the driveway would be, the least amount of grade is pretty darn close to the entrance and exit to the bus garage. So
Right,
just
right.
have Mr. McGrath come and shoot that distance, as well as put a proposed, home site on there and where a proposed septic system would be. And like Mr. Gilchrist said, that would suffice. So you could build tomorrow or in 10 days, or in 10 years if you wanted to, or never.
Or not?
Yeah.
Or you could turn around and sell it.
But I have to have this amended.
Yeah, it has to add the potential driveway, the proposed driveway.
Right.
Russ, I don't want to speak for Wayne, who's not here, but typically he likes to see the leach fields. Yeah, minimum distance from the property lines as well.
Yeah, minimum 10 foot, that's what.
So it'd probably be a good idea to locate Mr. Ocean's well and septic. As well as your well and septic, to make sure they're not close to any of the property lines. Well, I understand that, but to make it clear, it should be on your own, just to verify it, so to speak.
It's clear to you guys. We have to have it documented on here so we know if somebody comes back and you sell this lot, that, they know that the septic system for your house is here and where the proposed one would be this side. Excuse me. So, just to review, you need a proposed driveway with site distances. You need a proposed location. It doesn't have to be an exact location, but just a general location on that lot for a proposed house along with its septic system. And you should indicate on both your lots. Well, I know you have it on yours, you have your well indicated here. but there's only a note here for existing dwelling with well and sanitary facilities. It isn't indicated where that is.
We have the topographical.
There's a topo. Mr. McGrath will be able to help you with this. You'll ask these questions. So if Mr. McGrath has any questions, you can call Mr. Golden, the building department, to clarify anything. It's not gonna be hard for him to do this. But we need that information on this drawing to approve this waiver. That's just, procedural. Okay? So I think, this is probably not something that's gonna take a lot of time for, I can't speak for Mr. McGrath, but I should probably be able to get you a new set of drawings by our next meeting. So we can push you on the agenda for the next week. And after that, the process is very, very smooth. We just need some additional information on it. All right? So we'll put you on the agenda for our next meeting on the 18th. And hopefully, if you, for some reason, you can't get those drawings to us, just let us know, and we'll put you on for the following.
I'll contact them tomorrow first thing.
Okay. If he has any questions, please have him contact the building department. They'll be able to give him all the information he needs to change the drawing. Okay? All right. And we'll see you on the 18th.
Okay, thanks.
You're welcome. Blair.
Good evening, everybody.
How are you?
Good.
Once again, we have a waiver.
We're going in the opposite direction. We want to take 3 lots and turn it into 2.
Yeah, we discussed this before. Basically, it's basically like 2 lot lines.
Yeah.
All right. Let me get your application here. Okay. Okay, give us a brief discuss. We discussed it at our last meeting. And I think we understand what you want to do. Basically, we want to take 1 lot and make it into 2, or divide it off into 2 other lots.
Correct.
Taking 3 lots. And making,
Correct. So we brought the 2 lots in between us and the other house that was there. We kind of created a buffer. We did that in 2012. And we decided right about that time, we had a surveyor come in and tell us where would be the best spot to sort of divide these into 2 logical lots instead of 3 lots. Because it's the last, one of the last lots in the development area there, but it's not really optimum building costs the way they look right now, so.
Or narrow, they're wedge shaped, and you could put houses on there, but should you
But
really?
putting 1 house on 1.5 of those would look a lot better, be a lot nicer. So I'm getting 2 of that, so.
okay, does everybody understand what they were doing here? Who did this drawing?
One.
This is all.
Yeah.
Anybody have any questions on this? We discussed this in the new business at our last meeting, pretty much in depth. We had some questions whether it's two lots.
You own both lots or?
We do. We own all three of the lots involved. We own our house, which is 5 Ledgewood Drive. We own 103 Hickory and 105 Hickory also.
And there's one house on,
There's one house at 5 Ledgewood. There's nothing on either of the two lots. We did have 105 on the market. We do know that that's a building lot, so we had that on the market for a little while. We feel it'd be much more attractive on the market too, if there's a little bit extra land.
Yeah, our intent had been to collapse it, and our realtor every so often is like, are you guys gonna do this? Are you guys, and we're like, we'll get there, we'll get there. Well, here we are.
Well, we're here.
It's taken us a while, but we, we've had interest, which is why we always have it listed, because we can go through him and get their questions answered. But the last couple really was like, oh, you think you guys are gonna put this together or what? And we're like, yeah, I guess, why not? We might as well. I think they moved on to other stuff, but it was a good time to do it.
And there's public water here.
Yeah, it's
And-
public, everything, it's in the
and sewer.
Kessner's development.
Mhm.
And we wanted to just make it, we were hoping that when we combine the two lots, or the 3 lots to make 2, that the vacant ones can stay a building lot.
Well, that area is pretty bad.
Yeah.
Okay. This is kind of unusual because usually we have lot line adjustments. You're trying to create more property.
Not
If
decrease.
you saw these things, it is like, I mean, I know builders have vision, but I remember when we bought the house and we looked at, we're like, how are you gonna stick 2 houses on that space? It didn't really seem like it's even doable. They'd have to be way up in the, it's a graded, it's a hill lot, and
And it was also a case of when you looked at the property, you would stand at the bottom marker and you'd look and say, this property should end here, but instead it ends over there.
yeah, it just
really,
didn't look
it
great,
just,
so.
it worked out a little bit better once we had the surveyor come in and recommend
Okay.
a good deal.
Does anybody have any questions? Anyone that has any problem with proceeding along?
make a negative declaration.
Okay.
1 second.
Second, or any further discussion on the deed? All those in favor? Any opposed? Now on the waiver of subdivision. Do we need to do any conditions on it? We're actually going in the opposite direction.
Right, but the areas that will go into each adjacent lot is merged into
Yeah.
those lots. So you start with 3, you end with 2 larger. So one condition will be that area legally merged into the 2 adjacent lot deeds.
And filed with the town.
Yes. So once that's done, there'll just be some deed work that gets recorded in the county clerk's office. Copies of those get filed with the building department.
Okay, so would we have to, like, how does that work? Do we have to give anything to our attorney then to write up a
Yeah,
deed? Or
yeah.
Okay, so you'll give us the information, or we just take
We
the
have-
No, you take the map.
Yeah,
And he
If you
takes
got the
it.
survey work,
Yeah.
then they'll simply be,
Perfect.
yeah, this will be approved. This map can then get filed, and then there's just deeds to indicate that portion will be merged into a lot, but just be one deed for each of the 2 lots. Once that happens, notice of those deeds will get recorded. The taxing authorities, the tax map will be adjusted and end up just getting 2 tax bills.
Awesome. Thank you.
The first step of that, if you have any maps, give them to me because we need to stamp and sign those. And that will be your filing
Okay.
to the all of records together with the deed.
Yeah,
So
I've
if you-
got a few on the desk and I'll give you
Yep.
this one right now.
Okay, and I'll collect the rest of the numbers, you guys.
All right.
Hand 'em over.
So, we haven't
Okay, great.
approved it yet officially.
But that would be the only condition.
Do I have someone who would like to make that motion with those conditions?
I'll make the motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Is there any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Now you're all set.
Thank you very much. Have a good night, everyone.
Okay, you too. Okay, Santora. Minor subdivision. I believe the last time you were here, and one of the issues we had was you had an incorrect map drawing that showed.
Well, we had the original
Yeah,
map that we did for a waiver lot, that's what we originally applied for.
and has that been redone?
Well, we haven't redone that map, but we do have the topographical survey for the septic and the, where the house will be.
Okay,
The first thing that was on the table, that was the Santoro plot with the topo.
okay. Okay, now I'm starting. We had discussed this, originally this came in as a waiver.
Right.
And just to refresh everybody's memory, and this parcels up there were subdivided previously and wavered previously, and which forced Mr. Santora to actually apply for a minor subdivision. So that's why, even though it's a one-lot subdivision, it does require, at this point, an application for a minor subdivision. Does everybody recall that conversation? And accordingly, with a minor subdivision, we require a public hearing.
Correct. I kind of wish Wayne were here as well to review whether what's been submitted is complete for purposes of what's required for a minor subdivision application.
Okay.
Topo's been adamant of it. My recollection of the discussion was whatever's required in the minor subdivision plat application needs to be submitted. Whether that meets the requirements, I would defer to Wayne.
Wasn't the original drawing done by Mark Danskin?
Mark Deskin, right, but he was not able to do a topo for the septic in a CAD format or whatever, so we actually ended up having to go with this other company who was recommended by the septic designer.
Okay. Yeah, I see what you're saying. I don't know whether this is a,
I don't know.
I think we gotta wait till, comes back, till Wayne comes back, but
The only thing I noticed is that this plan isn't stamped or sealed. That's the only thing.
yeah, but you know, I wonder how hard it would be for Mark to take this one, put it on, modify this one. You know what I'm saying? Oh, I see what. Okay, this is only like about a 25% of the actual waiver lot. Is that correct?
Where, yeah, with the topographic, yeah.
Yeah.
You need a topographic of the full 5 acres?
Whole 95 acres.
No, not-
Right? Whole 95 acres.
Well, I think, given the whole record on this thing and the need for the minor, certainly on the proposed 5 acre lot. Whether the full 95 is topo, open question, but certainly in the building lot.
You gonna say something, Linda?
I don't know. I have to go to the regulars, but I thought there was a different standard for a minor. The 10-foot contour interval comes to mind.
What is this?
So these are called 2-foot and 1-foot contours. So
Where is a 1 foot?
Over 2 feet.
yes,
Over 2 feet.
I mean, usually,
Yeah, they're 1 foot.
Yeah.
so basically, we need the topo for the whole waiver lot.
Well, I think that gets reviewed first by the building department and with Wayne to determine completeness for this particular minor subdivision application. And checking the minor subdivision regs
Okay.
for completeness. But I think it's wise to let Wayne review that.
We're also gonna need driveway.
it's on not the site distance.
That was on there.
I can't see that small. So, yeah, magnify that.
Where's the,
Thank you.
It's on the second page.
On the first page, too. That
Little
page,
cutout,
too.
yeah.
I'll pass. All right. Unfortunately, we can't proceed ahead without our consulting engineer to tell us whether this is, application is complete, the drawing is complete enough, because we have to have a public hearing on it. So I think at this point, we're probably gonna have to adjourn here to our next meeting. At which point, hopefully, Wayne Bonesteel, our planning board engineer, will be able to determine whether incorporating this with the other drawings, or what has to be addition to this, is going to be complete enough at this point. I think he would probably get back to you for the meeting, to let you know that this is what is required. Would that be a fair assumption? Would he agree with that?
I sent, everything that came in, I sent out, and I didn't receive back any, time of when he was out of office or any out of office reply, so that concerns me a little bit that it didn't get to him, so let me review that.
Huh.
If you said he did, normally, when I send out the group emails, I will get something
You'll get
back
the
when someone's out of
reply
office,
back,
yeah,
right.
okay, so let me review
I did
that.
get one this
And
week.
I'll make sure he gets a copy of this.
Okay. So we're kind of like in a holding pattern with this.
So do I have to wait till we come back in 2 weeks to find out what it is that I need to do, or will he contact me prior and let me know if this is sufficient or not?
I'm hoping that he will be able to review this and get back to you before, our next meeting, so any corrections can be made.
Contact Chuck. Chuck can contact Wayne, Maybe you'll know tomorrow when he's coming back, or call him Monday, and you can get the legwork done, so when you come back in 2 weeks, we can set a public hearing.
We have our hands tied as the planning board.
Yeah.
We don't have enough information here, we don't know if it's complete enough
Right.
for what we have to do. And that's why we have a consulting engineer doing
Right.
it. I'm sorry about that, but,
Yeah, I was just hoping,
we were going for a waiver lot originally, so I didn't think it would be all this involved.
Yeah,
You know, we're just building one house, we're not doing any kind of a major subdivision, we're leaving the other 95 acres forever wild as far as we're concerned, so. Seems like a lot for just one lot.
now is that, okay, you do have, you have a right of way for the remaining properties in 95 acres.
Yeah, there is also frontage further up on Walt Mountain Road.
Yeah, okay. All right, sorry we can't help you tonight. Hopefully we'll have everything squared away by our next meeting.
Yeah.
Schedule a public hearing.
All right, thank you.
Take care.
Technically, it's supposed to be a major.
I'm kind of, I've never seen this type of thing.
It's like topo on part of the proposed lot.
Yeah. Sort of like, well, this is where the yard's gonna be. So,
So different.
1 foot increments.
all right, so he's adjourned to our next meeting.
You wouldn't think it'd been that hard.
We already did,
To just increase that overlay to fit
Brunswick
on the whole damn thing.
PDD.
Russ, can we go back to that for 1 second?
Sure.
The latest set of plans we have, what I have, are stamped July 19th, 2022.
For now, excuse me, which one did you like?
That sounds like plan development district.
Okay, yeah, let's talk about that.
I think they addressed comments from Mr. Labarge since then. I think might have modified the plans since then. Did we get another set of plans from them, Chuck, that
Another set,
incorporate the comments from Mr. Labarge?
another set of plans
Or
for,
I should say revised,
for Brunswick Acres?
yeah.
No, we have not.
I'd like to have a set for that so we can review
We're gonna
the draft.
potentially act on this next meeting.
Yes. That's what's,
That's when we went through the proposed draft resolution. Giving you guys an opportunity to, or the board, I should say.
And one of the big ones that was reminded me of, the site balance. I think they addressed it in his comments, but I think they made notes on the plans about cut fill, right? These plans don't indicate cut fill.
There's gonna be a lot of that going on. The plan should indicate that. Okay. So what was the latest date of,
Well, it looks like you stamped it July 19th, 2022.
all right,
right, I've got that as well, Kevin.
that, that may be the
Didn't they
latest.
address his comments after that?
No, I don't think so. So this came in July 19th. And then we've got Ron's review letter dated today.
Well, his
saying-
original review letter, yeah, another review letter.
He did, yeah.
There's a review letter dated August 4th that we got.
The earlier one was July 6th. So he's got a review letter July 6th. And then the submittal that was received July 19th from CT Mail is the following is in response to your comment letter to the planning board dated July 6th.
So his comments should be on the agenda. Maybe I missed it.
These plans, the revised plans should have addressed his July 6th comments, except for those that are still outstanding in his August 4th letter. I think that's the right sequence.
I'll have to back into that one again, maybe I missed it. See where they show the, cut fills, I think they're back to being balanced, right? Moving material, keep material on site, right?
That's correct.
Yeah.
So the only other thing on our agenda,
It's on page C 106.
Oh, yes, you know,
We haven't met and talked. Don't read that, right?
They're required to have a geotech engineering on site for all excavation.
That's something that we should probably clarify with Ron.
That's the way I read it.
Yeah, I mean, let me ask this question. How is the geotechnical engineering inspections being done for Leon's project? They there every day?
They call them in.
What's that?
They would normally call them in when needed. Today and for the next probably 4 or 5 days, they will be there every day because they're doing the hill.
Yep.
And the stabilized slope. And that requires 9-inch lifts. So they'll do a 9-inch lift and they'll get them in there on a compression test. Another 9-inch lift, another compression test. So it really matters what's going on at site. Because when Ron said, we're going to have the reports every 2 weeks, I'm thinking there's a lot of stuff that can go on the site in 2 weeks for geotech. If they're in that, in that mode of operation where you're going to need them. So maybe the 2-week reports are just going to be a little too much.
Bill Bradley was the able to
Yeah.
quiz on.
Yeah, I was,
Yeah.
that was who I used for resource and
Yeah,
asked him. Yeah.
Frequency.
So maybe if you could talk to Bill on that issue. I'm going to forward to you the email I sent to Bill and to Ron. So you have that. I mean, Bill did come back and say, I was busy today, but generally these are my only comments. But on this issue, if you could follow up with him and have him reply to you and Ron and to me,
Sounds good.
we'll get that drilled in.
Are you questioning whether bi-weekly is acceptable?
In some cases, I'm thinking there's
Yeah.
going to be too much data in that report.
That there's
In a
been a lot
bi-weekly
of
report.
grading work, particularly on that slope side, within a 2-week period that maybe they need to be.
Yeah, they have a small window to get this done.
Oh, yeah.
I
They
brought
are
that
gonna
up
be
to Ron.
moving.
He said he thought it was
They're gonna be
sufficient.
cracking.
He did comment that he thought the report
Reporting was
was sufficient.
an adequate
Maybe that's
interval.
subject to further review and comment by
All right.
the town.
This is why I made the comment that the SWIP reports are done weekly. So
Well, if
kind
it's over 5
of,
acres, it's twice a week.
Yeah.
If it's over 5 acres, it's twice a week.
if it's over 5 acres, it's
Yes.
twice a
If
week?
they have the waiver, if they apply for the waiver, to have 5 acres or more, then
I'd be surprised if the waiver, it would be tough to get for over 5 acres.
I have,
Probably tough to get quick too.
We have trouble getting around. Really?
switching gears quickly here. We did have Atlas Renewables on our agenda. We did receive a pamphlet or a novel, which is the public hearing comments, their response to the public hearing comments. I was hoping that we could go through that with the applicant, but since he's not here, I think I'm just going to have everybody just review these. If they have any questions, have them come before us at our next meeting. And
I really expected him here this evening in that he dropped the stuff off. I expected him to be here. I did not call him.
maybe he expected us to review these and have any comments on that procedurally?
I'm surprised he's not here. Generally, he's at all these meetings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying, maybe with the storms and stuff that we got piled up.
I'll make sure he's here for the next one.
You think that's procedurally, that's a acceptable way to go? So review these, and if you have any questions on them, we will discuss them with him at our next meeting. If we agree with all the comments and they're acceptable, we can actually move forward with having Andy draft a resolution for the approval. So, as you know, we, for all the solar farms, we have been getting a full, draft full proposed resolution and so forth and so on. Just so everything's on the record. All right?
We did receive another query for solar. And this one is in the, behind the pond on Route 7, on Hoosick Road, next to the diner, to the right of the pond as well as behind the pond.
Nobody will ever see that.
Not at all. But you may be able to get, it may work out well because you may get a reflection off the water and that will create more glare and more power.
Humans used to work that field. He said they get nothing off of it because the geese come up out of the water and eat everything, especially the soybeans. He says it's just not worth planting. He said we get a bushel to the acre or something, there's just nothing left. There's some rock everything.
You should suggest them that panels may become bombarded.
What's your cleaning?
What's going on at the one at Digest?
I guess it's going to be a beverage mart. I haven't heard what he is planning on doing. That is the last thing I heard. Initially, it was a laundromat, but the sewer extension would have to be implemented to get down that far. And I don't know. That's going to be pretty costly. So I think his last plan was a beverage mart. I told the gentleman that if it's not anything like a weekly periodical, it's a change of change of use. So he's going to have to come in for some sort of permit. It's the gentleman that bought the LaCourte residence up on Coons Road. So
Is there any new business? None?
didn't have any.
Okay.
No.
And I'd like to review the agenda for the
Please.
18th. Obviously, with going in order, the Brunswick Road or the Brunswick Acres PDD was put number 1. That's to review the final resolution. And so they're number 1. Then we have Olson, Zanita, and Santoro.
And that was.
Atlas. Let's put Atlas number 2.
In front of Paulson.
In front of Paulson. In front of Paulson.
What do you think?
Also, should be pretty quick. Bringing a lot of new stuff in.
Right.
You want to put Paulson number 2? and then-
Well, I hate to say it, Paulson won't be that long. I wouldn't expect Renina or Santoro either. There
All right,
might be
then
some
we're
more
done.
discussion on that.
Let's put Atlas at the end.
Yeah.
All right. I don't think, according to my notes, there's anything else.
I have one on,
The only one we have really out there right now is Sills.
They're never gonna come.
I think both-
I did see Jim Sillis last week, and he asked me about it.
what is this Cooper Trail? I mean, that might not come back.
Yeah, that was the 15 foot, right? That we have to work out the issue with the stop work order.
He's
Chip
Oh,
Olson.
yes,
Yeah, he's
yes.
still got a violation or something. That was.
More to follow.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you saw that, I sent you that, right?
And what about this one?
Oh, Elmview, yeah, the woman, unless the maybe the message is on Wendy's answering machine, but I am not certain of her decision of whether she wanted to split another parcel out of that or not. Wendy is out with COVID, so. we short-staffed.
Health-related issue.
Yeah, yeah. That's right, HIPAA, sorry. Health-related issues.
Okay. Got the agenda set?
I believe so.
Okay, is there any other old business or anybody wants to?
When's that night class for the stuff we do every year for,
Training?
no, yeah, no hugging, no,
No, the.
Oh,
No, we already had that.
what's that?
We already had that for the insurance during the day, yeah.
We're talking about,
I think it's next
violence in
Tuesday.
the workplace and all that stuff.
Yeah, there's a night one for people who have jobs.
Oh,
Did you guys all
people
get?
really work, okay,
Did
that's
you
it.
guys get an email on that? You get an email on that?
No.
I mean, the only people that showed up were email on that.
Because you're retired.
I'm not listening.
No, I mean, we were the only two that got emailed, apparently, on it.
I gotta know
I
this.
just asked for a nighttime.
Oh.
I'll find it.
I don't know when that is, but
It's like
I'll,
4 to 6 or something.
I'll ask Dave.
Yeah.
Okay.
And what happens if I don't show up? They get thrown off the board or?
I don't know. This is,
Oh, if I knew that.
That's all it takes. Wondering
We don't have
what
a
the
planning
exit
board
strategy was.
We don't have a quorum anymore. There's only 2 left.
All right.
Sounds
I'll
like
make
the
a
senators
motion to
take
adjourn.
over.
I'll say.
All those in favor? Aye. Thank you.
Must be tough to breathe. You see where you're going?